Silence doesn't always mean goodbye. Sometimes it's a heart speaking without words. That's the hard truth, my friends. Here's the hook. When their silence changes, don't panic. Pay attention. It might not be rejection. It might be emotion too heavy to carry out loud. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing on a quiet beach. The ocean pulls back, the shore looks empty, and for a second you think the sea has left you. But that pullback, it's the sign of a bigger wave forming. That's how silence works in love. It feels like loss, but it's often pressure building, feeling rising, something deeper preparing to surface. Or picture a volcano under snow, peaceful on the outside, fire underneath. That's not indifference. That's the intensity of wearing a mask. We've been told a lie. If they cared, they would say it. Not always. Some people were trained by pain to speak softly and hide loudly. For them, closeness feels like walking a tightrope with no net. So when they start caring, they step back. Not to hurt you, but to find balance. I don't know how to feel this safely. Their nervous system whispers. My friends, rejection usually slams doors. Reflection closes them halfway and waits. Let's break another lie while we're here. Your worth is not measured by their response time. Fewer messages don't mean fewer feelings. Slower replies don't mean colder hearts. Sometimes a pause is just a human trying not to drown. Think of a phone overheating. It doesn't hate the app. It just needs to cool down to work properly. People do that too. Funny, right? We all want passion until passion arrives like a thunderstorm and knocks out the Wi-Fi. Here's where stoicism enters like a quiet coach in the locker room. Control what you can, observe what you can't. You don't have to chase every silence like a fire alarm. You can breathe, scan the room, and notice patterns. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, Viktor Frankl said. In that space is your power and your peace. When you don't rush to fill the gap with panic, you start to hear the truth that lives behind it. Folks, think of your calm as a lighthouse. Ships in a storm don't need more waves. They need steady light. Be that light. Be the person who doesn't send 8 follow-ups and a paragraph of explanations at 2 a.m. Be the person who can smile, sip some water, go for a walk, and trust that what's real doesn't need chasing. It needs clarity. What is meant for you strengthens you, not exhausts you. I'll add a little fun here. Remember when you were a kid and played hide and seek? The best players didn't sprint around shouting. They waited, listened, and then moved with intention. That's you now. Let the noise tire itself out. Let the silence reveal what panic never could. If it's fear, it will soften around your steadiness. If it's indifference, your calm will expose it faster than any speech. So here's your upgrade. Stop translating every pause as punishment. Start reading it as data. Look for consistency, timing, and context. Notice if the silence comes right after intimacy, laughter, or a vulnerable moment. That's not a dead end. That's a tender alarm. Meet it with grounded presence. Be warm, be clear, be patient, but keep your self-respect on, not checked at the door. If this is already opening your eyes, hit like and subscribe right now. Stay with me, because we're going to turn confusion into clarity, anxiety into calm, reaction into mastery. Drop today's affirmation in the comments. Calm is power. Write it, own it, live it, and let's build a community that doesn't run from silence. We read it, we learn from it, we rise through it. Number 1. The shift hidden in their silence. Silence isn't the absence of love, it's often the weight of it. Let that hit for a second, my friends, because when they pull back, when messages slow, when replies stretch into hours, your mind tries to protect you with a story. They don't care. But what if that's the first lie we break today? What if their quiet isn't indifference at all, but the sound of someone feeling more than they can manage out loud? Picture this. You're standing on a train platform late at night. The rails hum before you ever see the headlights. You can't see movement, but you can feel it. That's the energy of a shifting silence. It's the air thickening before a storm. It's the orchestra inhaling before the first note. On the surface, stillness. Underneath, everything. I know the questions that rush in. Why did they suddenly change? Did I say something wrong? Am I too much? Are they bored? Are they talking to someone else? The fear is loud. It shouts worst-case scenarios in your ear and calls them logic. But fear has a bad habit of painting shadows as monsters. If you zoom in, you'll notice a pattern. Their quiet appears after closeness, not after conflict, after laughter, not after fights, after stillness where their guard dropped and your presence actually landed. That's not a goodbye. That's a nervous system reaching for a seatbelt. Let's make it plain. Some people learned early that love equals loss of control. They grew up in homes where emotion meant chaos, where opening up meant getting hurt, where being seen meant being judged. So they survived by staying composed, controlled, distant. It worked, until someone like you arrived and their heart started to wake up. Now their mind is screaming for safety while their chest finally feels something warm. That inner tug of war makes their silence wobble. Less I don't care. More, I don't know how to carry this without dropping it. Between what is felt and what is said lives what is true. If they came from a world where feelings were punished or ignored, then closeness feels like walking a tightrope over old memories. The rope sways. The wind picks up. They don't step back because they hate the view. They step back because the height scares them. And yes, this makes it difficult. It's hard to be the person who senses the pullback and chooses not to chase it with panic. It's hard to hold your center when everything in you wants to send that just checking message. It's hard to trust that what's real won't require you to set yourself on fire for warmth. Here's a metaphor you won't forget. Imagine their heart is a room with the lights off. You walk in with a candle. At first, the glow is gentle. Then the flame gets close to a mirror, and suddenly the room brightens more than they expected. They blink. They step back. Not because the light is wrong, because their eyes need time to adjust. Your value is not proven by how fast they can stare into brightness. Your value is proven by your ability to keep the candle steady. Why do they think like this? Because control once kept them safe. Predictability meant survival. Emotional intensity, even the good kind, feels like standing on black ice. Beautiful, but slippery. Their brain equates feeling deeply with danger approaching. So they retreat into silence and routine to regain balance. It's not a strategy to hurt you, it's muscle memory protecting them. And here's where most people accidentally confirm their fear, by pushing, by interrogating, by turning the silence into a trial. Pressure doesn't open locked doors, it reinforces them. Now a hard truth you can handle. If you over-personalize their quiet, you turn their healing space into your emergency. That's not love, that's fear wearing its best outfit. They're not a puzzle to solve or a test to pass. You're not the locksmith of their childhood. Your power isn't in fixing them, it's in mastering yourself. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus Aurelius reminds us. In practice, that means choosing presence over panic, dignity over argument, pacing over proof. Let's talk about the temptation to prove your worth. You know the drill. Long paragraphs, explaining your intentions, asking for reassurance disguised as clarity. It feels reasonable, but it often becomes noise. If they are overwhelmed, more volume won't help them here. Think of a phone overheating. The smartest move isn't adding a new app, it's letting it cool. We do the same with people. Less heat, more air, less urgency, more room. Give the connection oxygen. Here's the lie breaker. If they loved me, they'd be consistent. Sounds wise, but reality is messier. People can love you and still be learning how to handle it. Consistency is a skill, not just a feeling. You've been practicing emotional endurance. They might be taking their first real steps. Does that mean you accept crumbs? Number. It means you respond to patterns, not panic. You watch for effort, repair, return, not flawless performance overnight. Fear asks, what if the silence means they're leaving? Wisdom asks, what does the silence reveal about where they are? Fear answers with dramatic endings. Wisdom answers with compassionate data. And the data you're looking for is simple. Do they come back with honesty? Do they show respect when they return? Do they acknowledge the gap without making you the villain? If yes, you're seeing growth. If no, your calm will expose that faster than your speeches ever could. Why is this difficult? Because your nervous system wants closure, not curiosity. It wants certainty more than it wants truth. But certainty is often a counterfeit coin. It looks valuable until you spend your peace to get it. The stronger move is to hold posture. Breathe through the urge to fix. Let your silence be equal parts kindness and boundary. You're not punishing. You're protecting your energy from panic purchases. Think of yourself as a lighthouse, not a lifeguard. A lighthouse doesn't jump into the waves. It stands where it is, bright and steady, so ships can decide how to steer. Some will turn toward you, some won't. Your job is to keep the light, not swim after every vessel that drifts. The moment you embody that steadiness, something shifts. Your calm stops being misunderstood as indifference and starts being felt as safety. Safety is what the overwhelmed heart needs most. Let me add a little smile in the middle of all this depth. You ever notice how the moment you stop hovering over the oven, the cake actually rises? That's energy dynamics in the kitchen, my friends. The same applies here. Hovering collapses the moment. Space lets it swell. So here's your move, and it's stronger than it sounds. When their silence changes, you don't chase. You don't perform. You don't audition for a position that should be offered with clarity. You stay warm, you stay open, and you stay grounded. You talk to yourself like someone you're responsible for protecting. You live your day. You move your body. You do your work. You make your coffee like a ritual. You respond with intention, not with fear. You let your presence communicate what your paragraphs use to try to prove. I am calm, I am clear, and I am not for chaos. If this landed, write your affirmation in the comments. Calm is power. Say it out loud, carry it in your pocket, and show it in how you move. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because next we're going to turn this understanding into action you can feel in your bones. How to hold your center when the tests come, and how your stillness becomes the gravity they can't ignore. Number 2. Read the data, not the drama. Not every pause is a period. Sometimes it's a breath before the truth. Let that land, my friends. Because when their silence shifts, the mind loves to write headlines in all caps. It's over. But headlines aren't history, they're reactions. What we're doing here is wiser, reading the data, not the drama. We're learning to see what their quiet actually says without letting fear hold the microphone. Imagine a dim hallway with motion sensor lights. When no one moves, the lights fade, not because the building is abandoned, but because the system is conserving energy. Then the slightest movement, light returns. Their silence can be like that. Not abandonment, but nervous energy trying to regulate. They step back after closeness, messages slow after laughter, eye contact becomes quick and careful after a deep moment. That pattern isn't random. It's the nervous system whispering, I felt a lot. I need a second. I know the questions that rush in. Why now? Did I miss a sign? Are they testing me? Are they losing interest? Should I ask for clarity or stay quiet? That inner debate is real. But here's the truth folks rarely say out loud. Clarity given under pressure isn't clarity, it's compliance. If you demand an answer in the turbulence, you'll get turbulence in the answer. Speak only when you can speak softly, says wisdom. And sometimes the softest voice in the room is timing. Let's break the lie. If they cared, they wouldn't retreat. Some of the most caring people retreat the fastest when feelings rise. Why? History. They learned to equate intensity with danger. They've survived by staying cool, controlled, independent. Then you showed up like spring, warm, alive, disarming. The ground thawed, and that very warmth scared them. Not because you're wrong for them, but because warmth melts defenses. Melting feels like losing control. Control once kept them safe. Metaphor time. Picture a violinist who's always practiced alone. They know the notes, they know the rhythm, until they join an orchestra for the first time. Suddenly, the same music feels louder, richer, riskier. Their timing hesitates, their bow shakes. Do they hate music now? Number. They're adjusting to a fuller sound. That's your connection. Their silence is the shaky bow, not the broken instrument. Why is this so hard for you? Because your nervous system wants certainty. It wants labels, guarantees, timestamps on feelings. But love is not a package you track. It's a climate you learn. Some days are sunny, some days are fog. If you treat fog like failure, you'll speed into a ditch. If you treat fog like weather, you'll slow down, turn on the low beams, and arrive intact. In stillness, the truth arranges itself, the sages remind us. Your stillness is not laziness, it's leadership. Here's a practical lens. Data points over days, not dopamine over minutes. Pay attention to what follows the silence. Do they return with a steadier presence? Do they name their need for space, even awkwardly? Do they repair without making you chase? That's growth. On the flip side, do they use silence to control the rhythm, to keep you guessing, to avoid accountability? That's a pattern. Your calm won't fix that, but it will reveal it quickly, because chaos can't feed on a steady table. A little humor to ease the weight. Ever stare at a progress bar stuck at 99% and want to smash the screen? Then the second you look away, it completes. That's the paradox of attention. Obsessing slows energy. Space lets the system finish what it started. You don't have to ghost yourself to give space. You just need to stop sending your anxiety to do negotiations your dignity should be handling. Marcus Aurelius slides in with a nudge. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. When anxiety shouts, it rarely tells the truth. Before you type that fourth message, ask, is this right or is this relief? Is this true or is this fear? If it's relief or fear, step back. Breathe. Let the dust in your chest settle. Respond from the version of you that will respect this decision tomorrow morning. Let's break another lie. Silence means I'm not important. No, silence means they're not ready. Read that again. Your importance and their readiness are two different rivers. Don't drown your value in their timing, and don't romanticize their struggle either. Compassion with boundaries always. You're allowed to say, take the time you need, and also, I won't hold my life hostage while you decide. That's not cold, that's clean. Why do they think like this? Because safety for them has been self-sufficiency. They learn to carry their own weight, to minimize needs, to calm their storms in private. Your presence invites interdependence, beautiful but vulnerable. It's like asking a marathon runner to try dancing. They're strong, but this is a different balance. Expect stumbles, expect pauses, expect the shy smile after they trip. See the effort, not just the error. Here's a simple field test you can use, my friends. Does your body feel smaller or stronger after interacting with them? Even in the silence, do you feel respected or do you feel erased? Real connection leaves you with more self, not less. If their pause comes with honesty, tenderness and eventual repair, your self expands. If their pause comes with guilt trips, breadcrumbs and mind games, your self shrinks. That's your data. Believe it. So what do you actually do when their silence changes? You match pace with grace. You mirror the energy without malice. You send one warm message, not 10. You show availability, not desperation. You put your phone down and put your life up. Gym, work, friends, sunlight, water, sleep. Your routine becomes your anchor. Your presence becomes your answer. Your silence, when it happens, isn't stone. It's velvet rope. Soft, but real. And if they poke at you with a vague story post or a half-hearted hey, don't treat crumbs like a banquet. Respond like someone who eats well, short, kind, measured. If the conversation opens, walk in softly. If it doesn't, don't yank the door. The right door doesn't bruise your hand. If this is clicking for you, write your affirmation in the comments. Data over drama. Type it, own it, show it in the way you move today. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because next we're going deeper into posture, exactly how to hold your center when the tests arrive, and how your grounded energy becomes the gravity they can't ignore. Number 3, the emotional science behind withdrawal. Sometimes the quietest room is the one with the most electricity. Sit with that, my friends. Because when they pull back right after warmth, your mind wants to scream, they're done. But the body tells a truer story than the mind's headlines. What you're seeing isn't always rejection, it's regulation. Their silence is the nervous system reaching for the dimmer switch, not the off switch. Imagine a circuit breaker in an old house. You turn on the kettle, the heater, the lights. Boom, the breaker trips. Not because the house hates warmth, but because the wiring wasn't prepared for that much charge at once. That's what rising feelings do inside some people. The affection is real, the current is strong, and their internal breaker flips to protect the system. They go quiet, slower, distant, not to punish you, but to keep from burning out. You've felt that flip, right? One day it's laughter, eye contact, shared secrets. The next day it's shorter replies, longer gaps, micro escapes into work or scrolling. Your brain throws questions like darts. Did I push too far? Are they losing interest? Are they testing me? Is there someone else? Fear wants fast answers because fear hates ambiguity. But quick answers are usually wrong answers. In haste, we confuse motion with progress, says the wiser voice. Don't do that to your peace. Let's name what's happening under the hood. For many, closeness wakes the threat system, even when nothing is wrong. Their history taught them that intense emotion equals danger, criticism, abandonment, control, chaos. So when warmth rises, their body prepares to fight, flee, or freeze, even in love. It's not logic. It's conditioning. They don't think, I'm scared. They feel, I need space, and silence becomes their shield. Metaphor time, folks. Think of a skittish horse approaching a calm river. The water is safe, but the reflection looks like another world. Hooves pause, ears twitch. It steps back, then forward, then back again. If you yank the reins, the horse panics. If you stand steady, give it time, and keep your own breath slow, it learns the water isn't a trap. That's you. Steady breath, steady presence, no yanking. Why is this so hard? Because your attachment system has its own reflexes. If you've known inconsistency, silence can feel like a cliff edge. You want to grab, to cling, to announce your value like a siren. But clinging confirms their fear. Closeness equals pressure. And sirens don't calm anyone. This is where discipline meets compassion. You choose posture over panic, clarity over chase, warmth over worry. Let's break a loud lie. If they really cared, this would be easy. Number. Caring deeply often activates the most ancient alarms. Easy doesn't mean real. Easy means familiar. and sometimes familiar is the very pattern that kept them distant for years. Loving someone who's learning safety is less like a fireworks show and more like tending a fire. Steady wood, careful air, consistent heat. Too much air and the flame dies. Too little and it chokes. You learn the rhythm together. A little science. Simple words. When feelings rise, their body might be flooded with stress chemistry. Heart rate up, breath shallow, thoughts racing. The prefrontal wise brain goes dim. The survival alarm brain takes the wheel. That's when you'll see protective moves, changing topics, pulling back, ghosting a plan, scrolling instead of speaking. It looks cold. It's not. It's bracing. If you meet bracing with pressure, you get a stronger brace. If you meet bracing with calm, you get thaw. Here's a grounded move that works. Regulate yourself first. Long exhale. Unclench the jaw. Put the phone down. Yes, down. Touch something real. A mug, a doorknob, the earth under your shoes. Remind your body, I'm safe. This moment is just information. Then ask wiser questions. What pattern am I seeing? Does their quiet follow closeness? Do they return with humility? Do they acknowledge the gap? That's not drama, that's data. And the data lets you respond instead of react. Another metaphor you'll remember. You're a lighthouse, not a lifeguard. Steady beam, not frantic splashing. A lighthouse doesn't beg ships to come closer. It offers clarity from where it stands. Your steadiness is an education. It teaches their nervous system closeness can be calm. The moment you stop auditioning for the role of reassurer-in-chief, you become what they've never known. Love that doesn't demand, presence that doesn't pressure. Marcus Aurelius walks in with the line we need. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. What does that mean for us? If the pattern is human, momentary retreat after intensity, and they return with respect, patience can carry it. If the pattern is disrespect, stonewalling, blame, manipulation, your patience should not carry it. Stoicism isn't suffering, it's standards. Your calm is a boundary, not a cage. A bit of lightness here, my friends. You ever microwave something? It's cold in the center, so you nuke it more, and now the edges are lava and the middle's still frosty. That's what overcorrecting does in relationships. Too much heat, too fast, doesn't cook safety, it cooks resentment. Better method? Lower power, more time, occasional stir. Translation, softer tone, slower pace, check-ins that don't demand a novel. So what do you say when they resurface? You don't hand them a courtroom, you offer a door. Something like, I noticed we got a little quiet after that great night. I really enjoyed it. I'm here, and I like slow if slow is honest. Short, warm, no edge. You name the moment without making them wrong. If they're learning safety, that tone is oxygen. If they're playing games, that tone starves the game of fuel. Either way, your peace wins. Why do they think like this? Because their body remembers what their mind forgot to explain. That's not your fault, and not your project. You're not their therapist, you're their mirror. Your steadiness reflects their best chance at learning a new rhythm. But never sacrifice yourself to teach a lesson. Love others, but do not lose yourself, we say here. That's the rule. Let's lock this in with a simple frame. Awareness, alignment, action. Awareness, notice the protective silence and name it without blame. Alignment, regulate your body and choose values over impulses. Action, respond with warm boundaries, one clear message, then space, one calm invitation, then life goes on. Clarity plus kindness repeated is how nervous systems learn each other. If this spoke to your bones, type today's affirmation in the comments. Stillness is strength. Write it, show it, live it. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because next, We're going to turn this science into practice. Exact scripts, timing, and micro moves that keep your dignity high while the connection learns to breathe. Number 4. Silence as reflection, the Stoic lens. Silence is not a void, it's a mirror. Sit with that, my friends, because when their quiet enters the room, most people rush to fill it with explanations, apologies, or fear. But Stoicism teaches us something different. The moment you stop arguing with the silence, it starts telling you the truth. Not the loud truth of panic, but the quiet truth of pattern. Not the drama of "it's over," but the data of something stirring. Imagine a still lake at dawn. Throw a stone and the surface ripples, distorting every reflection. Stand calm at the edge and the water turns to glass. You can see the sky, the trees, even your own face. That's what emotional control does in relationships. It turns murky water into a mirror. Their silence becomes readable when your nervous system stops splashing. Here's the hard-hitting bit. Your reaction to their silence often matters more than their silence. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Control everyone." He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Translation for us modern folks: you can't force honesty out of someone, but you can choose integrity in yourself. You can't make them speak, but you can make your presence unmistakably stable. And stability changes rooms. Let's break a big lie. If I don't act now, I'll lose them. Number. If you act from fear now, you'll lose yourself, and that's the real loss. Fear begs. Fear bargains. Fear performs. Calm sets the table and waits. Calm says, "I'm here, I'm kind, and I'm not auditioning." Your steadiness is not passivity, it's precision. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. Viktor Frankl reminds us, your greatest power is how you use that space. Why do they go quiet? Often because feeling deeply is unfamiliar terrain, and unfamiliarity wakes survival reflexes. Why do you want to fill the quiet? Because uncertainty pokes your fear of abandonment, and your brain wants quick closure more than it wants accurate truth. Stoicism doesn't shame either side. It regulates both. It tells them you can step back without disappearing, and it tells you you can stay present without chasing. Maturity is the bridge where those two truths meet. Metaphor time, folks. Think of yourself as a lighthouse again. Beam steady, no sirens, no flares. A lighthouse doesn't sprint along the shore to convince ships it exists. It stands exactly where it's supposed to stand, and because it stands, ships find their way. Your job is not to become louder, it's to become clearer. Clarity is louder than volume. Presence is stronger than pursuit. A little humor so it sticks. You ever overstir soup and it turns cloudy? Then you stop, put the spoon down, and the broth clears by itself. That's your timeline right now. Put the spoon down. If there's something nourishing in this pot, it will show when the swirl settles. If there's nothing but water, the clarity will reveal that too. Either way, your peace saves you from burning dinner. Let's talk practice, not just poetry. The Stoic move is threefold. Notice, name, normalize. Notice the shift without catastrophizing. Name it without accusation. I noticed we got a little quiet after we got closer. Normalize a slower pace if it's honest. I like slow, as long as it's real. Short, warm, clean. You offer a bridge, not a courtroom. If they're overwhelmed, that bridge is oxygen. If they're playing games, that bridge leads nowhere fast. And you'll know. Here's another lie to break. Silence means do nothing. Number. It means do the right things. You don't send paragraphs, but you do send signals through consistency, self-respect, and a life that's bigger than your phone. You keep your routines. You lift, you learn, you laugh with people who text back. You sleep like someone who trusts themselves. You answer like someone who isn't afraid of time. Time is your ally when your posture is right. Why is this difficult? Because patience isn't passive, it's athletic. It requires breath control, muscle memory, mental reps. Anyone can react. Only the trained can remain. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Marcus nudges again. Endure what? The discomfort of not knowing, the itch to over-explain, the pull to prove. Don't endure disrespect. Endure uncertainty. That's where your power grows. Think of silence as a diagnostic. After intimacy, do they retreat and return with more honesty each time? That's a system learning safety. Do they retreat and return with less clarity and more control? That's a system protecting power, not building connection. Your calm sees the difference quickly. Your calm saves you months of guessing. Your calm is not a trick, it's a truth serum. Let's make room for compassion too. They're not broken, they're becoming. You're not a judge, you're a witness to a process and to your own growth. If they're willing to meet you, your steadiness becomes a sanctuary where closeness doesn't have to burn. If they're unwilling, your steadiness becomes a boundary that keeps your soul from smoke damage. Either way, steadiness wins. Here's the posture line I want you to memorize. Warm heart, clear spine, soft on the outside, strong on the inside. You can be kind without being a doormat. You can be available without being available to chaos. When your heart stays warm and your spine stays clear, silence stops feeling like punishment and starts functioning like a filter. The wrong energy slips away. The right energy steps forward. So what do you do today if the room is quiet? Breathe slower than the moment wants you to. Write one grounded message, not 10. Then let life carry you. Work, sunlight, movement, meaningful conversations that exist in full color. If they step toward you, meet them with presence, not a lecture. If they don't, keep your peace. When you hold your standard long enough, the truth will always volunteer. If this reframed something for you, type today's affirmation in the comments. Presence over panic. Write it, show it, live it. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because next we're shifting from reflection to strategy, exactly how to stop chasing clarity and let your calm become the gravity that draws real connection in. Number 5. The turning point. Stop chasing clarity. Peace is not found in getting answers. It's found in not needing them to stand tall. Let that sink in, my friends, because this is the pivot point most people never make. They spend weeks, months, even years trying to solve the puzzle of someone else's silence. When the real shift happens, the moment you stop chasing clarity and start choosing calm. The day you no longer beg the moment to explain itself is the day your power returns to you. Picture this. You're pounding on a fogged-up window, trying to see inside a room. The harder you breathe, the more the glass steams. You wipe, it fogs again. Then you step back, and the window clears on its own. That's your energy. Every anxious refresh, every just checking text, every over-explanation is more breath on the glass. Step back, and truth appears without your fingerprints all over it. I know the questions that claw at you. If I don't ask, how will I know? If I don't push, will they forget me? If I stop trying, isn't that giving up? Fear frames surrender as failure. But this isn't surrender, it's selection. You're selecting your dignity over your doubt. You're choosing to be chosen, not to campaign. The more you chase, the more it runs. The more you stand, the more it comes. That's not a trick line, that's emotional physics. Let's break a big lie. Clarity must be demanded. Real clarity doesn't arrive under interrogation, it arrives under integrity. When you stop forcing the moment reveals itself. If what's there is care, it walks toward your steadiness. If what's there is control, it withers without your reactions to feed it. Either way, your calm becomes a sorting mechanism. You stop negotiating for the bare minimum and start witnessing who can meet you without a script. Why do they think like this? Why do they pull back when things get real? Because for them, emotion equals exposure. Exposure feels like losing control. Their instinct says, regain ground. Retreat. When you chase, you confirm their fear that closeness equals pressure. When you stop chasing, you introduce them to a new experience. Closeness equals choice. That's when the energy flips. Your stillness doesn't punish. It makes space for them to step forward of their own will or walk away honestly. Both outcomes are gifts. One builds love, the other builds freedom. Metaphor time, folks. Think of your attention like high-octane fuel. Pour it into a car that's idling in park, and the engine just screams louder without moving an inch. Pour it into your own vehicle, your body, your habits, your purpose, and suddenly you're traveling roads you forgot existed. You weren't stuck because the path didn't exist. You were stuck because you were fueling the wrong engine. Here's why this is difficult. Anxiety pretends to be responsibility. It tells you that reaching out again is mature, that pushing for answers is healthy communication, that waiting is weak. But mature communication requires mutuality. If you're doing all the emotional labor, that's not communication, that's compensation. And compensation always costs you the one thing you can't replace: self-respect. A little humor to keep us honest. You ever microwave popcorn and stand there listening for the last few pops? If you keep restarting the timer after the popping slows, you burn the whole bag. Relationships are the same. Know when to stop pushing heat. Let what's ready expand and let what isn't sit. Overheating doesn't make kernels pop, it makes them bitter. So what does stopping the chase look like in real life? It looks like a warm, clean message instead of a monologue. Loved our time. I'm here. Slow is fine if it's honest, then space. It looks like mirroring energy with grace, not spite. No disappearing acts, just dignified pacing. It looks like protecting your mornings, moving your body, hydrating, eating real food, doing the deep work you promised yourself you'd do when you weren't spinning your nervous system on the wheel of someone else's mood. It looks like answering when you're settled, not when you're spiraling. It looks like letting your life be louder than your phone. Marcus Aurelius taps us on the shoulder. If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it. Before you send the late-night paragraph, ask, is this true or is this fear? Is this right for my future self? If the answer is fear and no, you already know the move. Close the chat. Open your breath. Return to the center that doesn't bargain for belonging. Let's dismantle another lie while we're here. If I back off, they'll think I don't care. Healthy people don't confuse calm with indifference. They recognize it as emotional maturity, and those who weaponize your calm were never going to be nourished by your panic anyway. Your job isn't to prove you care, it's to care without losing yourself. Warm heart, clear spine, soft at the surface, steel in the center. That's the posture that turns silence from prison into filter. What happens next when you hold this posture? Watch the roles invert. Their uncertainty begins to sit with them, not you. The person who used to manage you with distance begins to feel distance in their own chest, not because you manipulated them, but because you stopped interrupting their lesson. Your absence becomes a mirror, your routine becomes a compass, your peace becomes, yes, magnetic. People find steadiness irresistible because it's rare. Noise is everywhere. Signals are sacred. Compassion, always. If they're learning safety, your steady presence offers oxygen. If they're playing games, your steady presence starves the game of oxygen. Either way, you win, because your metric is no longer, do I have them, but do I have me? And when you have you, you stop chasing anything that makes you abandon yourself to keep it. So here's the move, clean and clear. One message, then life. One invitation, then space. One standard, then consistency. You don't punish, you pace. You don't freeze, you focus. You don't slam doors. You keep them unlocked for the right knock, and you keep walking toward your future while the right knock finds you. If this hit home, write today's affirmation in the comments. Clarity chooses me. Type it, own it, show it in how you behave today. Press like, subscribe, and stay with me, because next we're mapping the magnetism, how your grounded energy turns into quiet gravity that draws what's real and lets the rest fall away.